Hey there, wine people. Stewart Johnson here, owner, grower, winemaker, spokesmodel for Kendric Vineyards. Here to talk about the 2019 Chardonnay from my vineyard in Marin County / Petaluma Gap. This is a little patch of my vineyard that I grafted over to Chardonnay in 2016. So this is my third vintage off of that grafted section. This is all Wente clone. It was a very small vintage yield-wise, very concentrated fruit. 2018 was a much bigger year. You may have had that in a previous shipment from Spirit of Wine. Whereas 2018 was a big vintage and marked by its more acidic structure. This one hangs on a more phenolic frame. It has a pretty firm spine to it. And that comes from some additional skin contact as well as just the concentration of the fruit that year. My general protocol is to bring the fruit in, stomp it in bins and let it sit on the skins for several hours prior to pressing, with the aim of picking up a little bit of tannin, a little bit of mouthfeel, a little bit of oxidative resiliency, a little bit more spine and length. In this vintage, I stomped it and the press broke prior to getting anything pressed, and I had half a day of trying to repair that before getting this pressed, so the result was extra time on the skins. And as often happens with mishaps, it turned into something that was that I incorporated into subsequent vintages. I like the gravitas that comes from the additional skin contact, and I've incorporated that into subsequent vintages, extending the time on the skins. So once I get this pressed, it receives a good dose of air during pressing, and it goes to tank to chill and settle, and all the oxidized and oxidizable components of the wine that have been exposed to the air settle out and fall to the bottom of the tank, rack off of that sediment and into barrel for barrel fermentation. And the aim of the aeration and settling is to inure the wine to subsequent oxygen exposure. This wine will go a ways. It can stay open for a long time without oxidizing. It can age for a long time without oxidizing. It goes into barrel, and when people hear barrel fermentation, they often think oaky, buttery, and I'm looking to avoid that at all costs. I hope it's not obvious that I hope the oak is there but not obvious. I'm not looking to hit you over the head with it. Pretty neutral barrels for fermentation. Then it goes through malolactic fermentation, the conversion of malic acid to softer lactic acid, very often accompanied with the production of diacetyl, which is a sort of buttery flavor that people associate with California Chardonnay of a bygone era, I think. It's possible to have full barrel fermentation and malolactic fermentation without producing a syrupy butter bomb, and that's what I'm aiming to do here. And the result is a wine with, if you had the 18, this is a fuller, longer wine. If the 18 was more marked by lemony quality, this is probably closer to pineapple. This one has probably greater length, a little less transparency. It had a marker of the vineyard is a saline note, which stood out more in the 2018. It's here in the 2019, but it's the concentration of the wine makes it stand out a little less apparently. So it's something you have to dig for. It's substantial enough to stand up to food. This wouldn't be out of place with pork or anything up to that weight. It's not necessarily sushi wine. Um, and as I say, it's going to have a good long life, and I'm excited to see where it goes in a decade from now, because I think it's built for that kind of aging ability. But don't hesitate to pop yours now. Enjoy.